Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Considering Alternative Programs, Next Steps and Future Options presentation. My name's Angel, and I am one of the amazing academic advisors from the UTM Office of the Registrar. Today, I'm joined by Melanie, who is an academic and financial aid advisor at the UTM Office of the Registrar. I'm also joined by Claire, who is a career counselor with the Career Center, and our wonderful peer leader, Lucas, who is joining us as well from the Office of the Registrar. Lucas does help run the navigation resource session, so you might be familiar with Lucas if you've attended one of those in the past. So we have a bit of content to get through today. We're just gonna dive right in. Next slide, Lucas. So for reminders and expectations, please note that the session is going to be recorded. So as tips, we do recommend you mute the microphone on your device. We also recommend that you use the chat option to make a comment. We have enabled the Q&A function here on Zoom. So if you have a question, we recommend that you include your question through there. And please note that this is more of a group advising session, so keep your questions and comments general. Do not include personal information in those. And we will be sure to get back to you at some point throughout the presentation. I do recommend as well, though, that you hold off on your questions until more so the end of the presentation, because we might actually answer your question at some point during this morning's session. Use the raise your hand feature as well to request technical support, and a member of our team will reach out to assist you privately. And we do also recommend that you minimize distractions by turning off your smartphone. If you don't want to do that, you can put it on do not disturb mode if it has that, closing or minimizing running apps, and muting it. Next slide. Okay, so by the end of this morning's session, we do hope that you take away these 6 key learning objectives. So we hope that you'll be able to reflect on the relationships of academic programs and your future career options, as well as reflect on your professional and personal goals. We also hope by the end of today, you'll be able to clearly identify your program eligibility for all types of programs here at UTM, but then also be able to articulate what a legitimate combination of subject posts actually is and what combinations may be available in your personal situation. We hope by the end of today's session as well, you'll be able to explain the timing and process of enrolling in subject posts, including the notions of temporary placeholder programs, how to drop programs, and request alternative programs. This session will also provide an opportunity for you to learn how to understand your next steps in transitioning to a new academic plan if you are in that current situation, as well as identify the key university services and resources that are available to help support you in this process. So diving right in to the content, you might be falling under one of these questions or maybe a combination of them. So if you haven't yet earned 4.0 credits, a solution is to complete the credits during this coming fall-winter session that's just started, or also maybe utilizing next summer. If you haven't successfully completed the required courses for your programs, you can again use this fall-winter session and next summer, depending on your case, to achieve those minimum grades. And if your cumulative grade point average doesn't meet the cutoff, you can use this coming fall-winter session and next summer to improve your CGPA in order to apply. Next slide. So program types. At the University of Toronto, Mississauga, all of our programs are assigned a type from 1 through to 3. So type 1 programs, these are unlimited enrollment programs. So what that means is you can go on Acorn as long as you're on track to earning 4.0 credits, and you can enroll in the program. It's auto-enrolled. There are unlimited spaces. So if you're interested in a type 1 program, that's good news. You can just go ahead and add it and start working on it. Type 2 and 3 programs, on the other hand, you would have to go to our academic calendar, review the entry requirements there. You'd have to try your best, of course, to meet them, or for type 3 programs, exceed them, and then apply either during the spring round or summer round, depending on when you're on track to completion of the requirements. All of the application period dates are available on the Office of the Registrar webpage. We have a program selection guide, and we have a section there that says how to apply. That's where these dates are posted. And I do want to mention here too, type 2 programs, these have unlimited spots. So as long as you meet the requirements to join, you should be invited to that program once you've met those requirements. But for type 3 programs, they are our most competitive programs here at UTM. There are limited spots. So that's why we recommend, if your heart is set on a type 3 program, please try and exceed the enrollment requirements that you see in the academic calendar. Next slide. So, what's next? Let's say that you are in the situation where you're applying to your program later. These are some questions to consider. Are you close to meeting the program entry requirements? And is it academically realistic and financially feasible for you to apply for the program next year? So these are questions to consider. It might not just be as simple as, I will be applying next year, right? You want to think about these kinds of questions. So if you've reflected on these questions and your answer is yes, it is close for you to meet the entry requirements, so you're getting there, and it is actually academically realistic and financially feasible for you to apply to the program, let's say in the spring of 2025. We do recommend that you put the numbers together using the CGPA calculator. So we might have an idea, we might think that we are eligible to try again, but let's say hypothetically you're interested in maybe the biology for health sciences major. Let's say the CGPA cutoff is 2.5. You want to go to that CGPA calculator and see, is it actually feasible with the courses I have now to reach a 2.5 CGPA? This will let you know if you are in fact close or not. So you want to go off of concrete information when answering these kinds of questions. Next slide. So to determine your next steps, you'll want to set academic goals, consider the timeline. So how long will it take you to actually reach the entry requirements? Consider the grades needed, the tuition costs, and also enrollment controls for specific courses. So some courses, they might be restricted to students that are already in that program. They might have like a priority enrollment period. You might be familiar with this from your enrollment this past summer. So it's important for you, again, to go through these next steps. So exploring your options. Again, upon your reflection of, is it realistic to apply next year? If you've come to the conclusion that no, it's not realistic, or you're unsure, this is when you'll want to consider alternative program pathways. Important to mention, modifying your plan does not mean that you failed. And I will say, I'm sure Lucas can attest to this. I used to be a student at UTM years back as well, but You will probably come across a point in your career here at UTM where you'll have to modify your plan, whether it be regarding programs, maybe your first choice for courses are full and you'll have to modify plans to complete your programs. Be open to these kinds of differences that will come up. So, other different key thinking points. When choosing programs, are you feeling pressure from external influences such as your family, your friends, work? Is this what's impacting you in terms of choosing this particular program? And also, can you achieve your long term goals and career goals in a different way? So, again, think about if I don't actually get into maybe the commerce specialist because it's type 3, it's competitive, there's limited spots, can I work in my preferred career without actually being enrolled in this subject post? And this is a great suggestion. Melanie and I, we do this a lot during academic advising appointments. We encourage students to review it on their academic record and self reflect. So look at your record. Think about what courses you did well in. What did you enjoy about those courses? And could those courses eventually become an overall program of study for you, or maybe one of those programs? And if they can be, again, check the entry requirements in the academic calendar and enrollment controls for the required courses to see if you can make that option a reality. So, for some tips, combine programs to increase your marketability and skills. Consider programs that enhance your individual development. Use the academic calendar to determine what the program entry requirements are. Review the program selection guide for logistical information regarding program selection. There's also a list in the guide that identifies which programs are type 1, type 2, type 3. This is really great information in helping you plan. We also have an alternative program options guide that's linked to the program selection guide, and it shows different program options that are alternatives to the competitive type 3 programs. Also use Degree Explorer to use that planning tool. And again, Lucas does host, or Lucas is one of our peer leaders that hosts resource navigation. So you can attend that session. It's called Ask a Student. And if you need help learning about the planner tool, how to use Degree Explorer, so on and so forth, Lucas can assist with that. Okay, so we are going to dive into a couple of scenarios. These students, they essentially had to consider alternative program plans. So first scenario, we'll be focusing on Noor. Noor thought that she was going to study sociology and criminology, but Noor ended up not really liking her first year classes, and upon reflection, Noor has decided to make a change. So the first key thought of Noor's is, what program do I select now? And Noor also realizes that she did in fact pay for the courses she previously took, and she wants them to count. She doesn't want them to be a waste of time. Noor knows that she wants to pursue law school after graduation. So this is a goal that Noor has outside of UTM. And she realizes that she can study any program because a high cumulative grade point average is more important for law school than what program of study she pursues. So, along with our tips, Noor went ahead and she looked at her academic record. She realized that her highest grades were in her elective courses of Anthropology 101 and Anthropology 102. So Noor goes to the academic calendar. She checks the anthropology program requirements. She sees that she needs ISP 100, which is a course she hasn't taken yet. And she also isn't sure what other programs can use her first year sociology courses. Again, being in line with that financial piece, thinking I don't want that time frame and those courses that I've taken to be a waste of my time. So you might be wondering then, what are Nora's next steps? So Nora should review the academic calendar to see what other programs might be a good fit for her. Again, ultimately, program selection is up to Nora. It really depends on what Nora would like to do. She can meet with an academic advisor to determine if she's enrolled in the right courses to help her achieve her goals. So Nor can bring to her appointment the program options that she's interested in, and the academic advisor can help determine if she's actually enrolled in the right courses to meet those goals or if she's missing anything. And she should also meet with a career counselor to determine if a change in program lessens or increases her chances of getting into law school. So, how does it impact this, changing her programs? So, if Noor decides to apply to the anthropology specialist and the ethics, law, and society minor, what does this mean for her overall goals? So, in terms of her academic plan and next steps, Noor will need to select a temporary program combination as a placeholder. So, this is why it's important to know what the type 1 programs are. These programs can be used as placeholders, and you don't have to take courses towards the placeholder program if that's the purpose that it's serving. So, in this case, Noor will need to add a temporary program combination as a placeholder. So that could be the one specialist, two majors, or one major, two minors. So once Noor is in placeholders, she knows she needs to take ISP 100 and she needs to earn a minimum of 63% in this course. She'll also take 200 level anthropology courses and proceed as if she was in the anthropology program already. And then to pursue the ethics, law, and society minor, she can go ahead and go forward with that option because her sociology courses can actually be used towards completion of that program. So in other words, those courses are not a waste of time, as Noor was concerned about. For financial reasons, both programs do not put Noor in a tougher spot because they're both regulated and the fees are the same. So the question then is, can Noor achieve her goals with an alternative plan? So looking more deeply into the specialist in anthropology, it's a type 2 program and it has no deregulated fees. And Noor can go ahead and request the program on Acorn as soon as she completes ISP 100. For the minor in ethics, law, and society, it's a type 1 program, and Noor can enter that at any point as long as she's on track to completion of 4.0 credits. She already has courses counting towards this program, as her first year sociology courses will count. She will need to take some PHL courses moving forward, however, to complete the program. So, in conclusion of Noor's alternative pathway, she was able to modify the plan with the support of her academic advisor and career counselor, and Noor finished her UTM degree with a cumulative grade point average of 3.85. She applied to Dalhousie for law school. So she was able to meet her goals with an alternative plan. Okay, so for scenario 2, we have Carrie Ann. So Carrie Ann has two goals after her first year. She'd like to get into the major in computer science program and the major in linguistics. And she'd also like to complete a professional experience year, or in other words, PEY, to get professional work experience in her preferred industry. So for computer science, Carrie Ann needs a minimum cumulative grade point average of 3.0 with a minimum 80% in CSE 148 and a minimum of 75% in Math 102, as well as completion of ISP 100 and a first year calculus sequence. She'll also need for linguistics, Lin 101 and Lin 102 with final grades of 63% minimum in each. Currently, upon reflecting again on her record, Carrie Ann realizes that her cumulative grade point average is 2.4. She earned 68% in CSC 148, 70% in Lin 101, and 60% in Lin 102. She failed Math 102 and she passed ISP 100. Another important note here, Carrie Ann completed 3.5 credits or full course equivalents. She was in 5.0 credits, but she dropped her elective Italian 100. So Carrie Ann, again, she reflects on her record. She decides that she doesn't want to do computer science, but she decides, sorry, that she doesn't want to apply for the major, I should say, in computer science. That is a type 3 program. It's competitive and it has limited spaces. So looking at her own record, she's made that decision based off of the entry requirements. So now Carrie Ann's question is, what can she do to achieve her program and PEY goals? The first step is to gather information. So meet with her program advisor to determine the PEY eligibility. So what does it actually take in order to get into this PEY program? And she also meets with an academic advisor to discuss her program options. She also meets with a career counselor to explore her career options. In terms of alternative program options, she can minor in computer science instead of majoring in it. She can major in linguistics and minor in geographical information science. So I will pass this slide over to Claire, our career counselor.
Oh, thank you, Angel. Okay, so one of the things that we have on the left is that when you come into the career counseling session, we hope that you come with some questions. And so Carrie Ann had questions about, so what sort of career is available to her. And if she get into her programs, what careers are available. And if she doesn't get into the program, then what can she do? What are the choices that she has? Can we get the next, yeah, thank you. So one of the things we have students do is to reflect and discuss why are you after this career? What is it? Is it a good fit for you? And what do you know about the career? Have you had any experience working or job shadowing in this area? Then we look at have them research resources in the Career Center and begin to generate a plan B. Then we sort of ask students to discuss their strengths and interests and skills and values. And we take a profile of that and talk about other programs with the student. It is important that students gain skills and experience outside of the classroom. And I think Angel mentioned the PEY. And the other way that you can do that is through the work-study program and through internships and through summer employment. One of the things that we did with Carrie Ann is we looked at the things that she enjoyed. And she said she enjoyed working visually, and so then we talked about considering geography, but she dismissed it because she felt that the employment opportunities for geography wasn't very good. And so then we suggested that she perhaps look at the GIS program. So Carrie Ann did some research and realized that the skill set included data and the visual aspect, which she likes. She likes working visually. She enjoyed linguistics, which was her minor. And so then she decided that she will do some more research on GIS and linguistics, and perhaps get some experience through the Job Shadow program, understand what the careers are about, and then make her decision. Next slide, please. Okay, I think that's.
Okay, thank you, Claire. That was awesome information. I hope that helped all of you listening in. So again, the next question is, sorry, Lucas, previous slide. Can Carrie Ann actually achieve her goals with this alternative plan? So back to the more academic piece of it and the nitty-gritty of the programs. For computer science, that minor, it is a limited enrollment program, but it has no deregulated fees. The computer science major and specialist, on the other hand, they do have deregulated fees. Similarly, those programs are type 3 again, meaning they're competitive, they have limited spots, whereas the minor, it is type 2. So that one has unlimited spaces, and Carrie Ann can get in as long as she meets the requirements to join. So she'll need a minimum grade in CSE 148 and Math 102. This is determined annually by the department, and she can request the program on Acorn during the spring round, provided she's on track to completion of 4.0 credits. An important note here, for this program, they state that credit courses under the credit no credit policy, they will not count towards the 4.0 credits required for program entry. So we do recommend when you are doing your research for programs, please be mindful of the notes. Some program departments will say, we will not accept credit courses. So if that's the case, again, your modified plans will have to include courses with final percentage grades. Now for the minor in GIS, very positive for Carrie Ann. This is a type 1 program, so she can just go ahead, add the program, and start working on it. And then for the major in linguistics, the program entry requirements for second year include a grade of 70% in at least 2 out of the 7 200 level linguistics courses listed in the calendar. So she can achieve this, and she can also request this program next March. So again, in conclusion for Carrie Ann, she modified her academic plan with the support of her academic advisor, career counselor, her financial aid advisor, and also department advisor. She was able to achieve her goals. And congratulations to Carrie Ann. She was able to complete a 1-year PEY with Hydro One. So she got that experience that she was really looking for. So for the next scenario, Alex, I will pass the presentation over to Melanie.
Try that again. Thanks so much, Angel. I appreciate it. I was on mute. So the next scenario we're going to look at is Alex. So Alex has 2 main goals. He really wants to apply for the Master of Management and Professional Accounting program here at UTM. Acronym is MMPA. To get there, he's focused on and wants to get into the Commerce Specialist program. So after his first year, he takes a look and reviews his student record. He's completed 4.0 credits. He's got a CGPA of 1.46, and he's on academic probation. What he actually needs to apply for the Commerce Specialist is a core GPA of at least 3.0 in the following 3.0 credits of the courses required for the Commerce Specialist program, with a minimum grade of at least 63 in each of these courses. So the ECHO 101, ECHO 102, the first year calculus, the Management 120, and the Management 101 course. Currently, his GPA on those credits is 1.95, so he's falling short in that area. Next slide, please. So Alex is going to map out his goals using his grade calculator, as Angel alluded to earlier. He's going to estimate what grades he would need to achieve the requirements to be considered for the Commerce Specialist program. So basically, Alex has worked really hard. He's now raised his core GPA to a 2.7, but he needs at least that 3.0 average in those required courses to apply for the specialist. He still really wants to apply for the MMPA program, but he's falling short in terms of meeting the requirements. So what are his next steps then? In this case, and in every case when you're falling short of your original goal, your original program that you wanted to apply for, you want to go to the step of making educated, informed decision making. So you've got a little bit of work to do to see if the program pathway that you're on is really realistic, as Angela alluded to earlier in the presentation. And if not, are there alternate routes to get to the same ultimate goal that you have? So Alex is going to meet with an academic advisor to determine whether there are alternate program options based on his skills and his interests. And importantly as well, he's going to meet with a career counselor to determine how he can still meet those goals after graduation from his undergrad degree. Next slide, please, Lucas. So Claire, I'm going to defer to you on this slide because Alex is going to go and have a career center consultation.
Thanks, Melanie. So I think before you come into career counseling, I would like to suggest that you come up with some questions. What is important to you? What do you want to find out from the career counselor? And what do you want the career counselor to help you with? And so Alex had some questions, and he wanted to know, sort of looking at his vision, did he have a plan B? These are some things that we would like him to answer. And he wanted to also know how he can maximize his chances of getting into the MMPA program. And he also wanted to know how to get skills and experience in business communication and leadership, which are the skills that he would need to get into the program. And are there similar programs that he could also access? So in speaking with a career counselor, we suggested that Alex speak to a recent grad, a recent CPA grad, about their work experience, and that he can research programs, go to virtual open houses, talk to representatives, and talk to current students in terms of what they're doing and the path that they're taking. And then he needs to look for work-study programs, economic internships, and then employer recruitment opportunities on campus, which would be, for example, next Wednesday, we have an employer fair or a career fair. And so that's something that we would encourage Alex to attend and for more information. So, but in speaking with Alex, he feels well suited for accounting because he has family in that field, but he doesn't know much more than the basics. And so we suggested that he look at a job shadow program where he can shadow an accountant to get some understanding of what the career is all about. And there's also a career website for alumni, UFT alumni, where they can offer information to graduates, and it's called 10,000 Coffees. So you have 1 cup of coffee, think about 10,000 cups of coffee. And you access alumni, you put your questions in the site, in the chat, and an alumni would respond. Usually, they're pretty good at responding, maybe not right away, but they're pretty good at responding. And so then you can ask the questions that you have. And so he wants the MMPA, as Melanie said, because of the co-op opportunity and because it fast tracks to a CPA. So we confirm that he can access MMPA without the BCom. But when we look into the program, he didn't realize that the admission process was very competitive. And so he would need a business-oriented experience in addition to to supporting his application. He's going to need leadership skills and sort of have some sort of experience, personal experience in that area to write in his statement when he's applying to graduate school. So finally, after Alex has some idea of all the things that he would require, he feels a little bit more secure because he doesn't need to BCom to get into the MMPA program. And so he kind of figured out where he wants to go next. He feels that the econ degree and experience he'll be building through job shadow and through an internship and perhaps summer employment will also help him to secure employment should he want to do so. But he's also thinking of taking a gap year. And so he thinks that that experience also will help him to find employment in his gap year. That's it for me. Okay.
Claire, thank you so much. So basically, Lucas, can we just go back one slide just to talk about how Alex sort of pivoted his programs? So basically, Alex took a look after his Career Center consultation and realized that he's going to be eligible to apply for the major in economics during the next round of program selection. And he also realized that he can achieve those long-term career goals, getting into the MMPA with an alternate program plan. So no longer focused on the commerce specialist. Now he's going to consider the major in economics at this point. So the modification of his program plan allows him to complete that business-related program without the deregulated program fees, and also still apply for the MMPA. Pardon me. So it'll take him about 27 months to complete the goals and be admitted to the MMPA compared to a BCom student, a student who had actually completed the commerce specialist. They could do it in 24 months. So not too much of additional time in order to achieve his goal. Next slide, please, Lucas. So then after careful consideration, Alex decided not to pursue the commerce specialist. And he also discovered that he liked the economics and the calculus so much that he's now doing a specialist in economics instead. So he's doing a program that he really loves, probably getting much better marks than if he had tried to pursue the commerce specialist. And he's still on that original pathway, that goal to get into the MMPA. So Alex accurately did the assessment and the process to make that program pathway change while still ultimately achieving his long-term goals. And Lucas, on this note too, I don't know, maybe I can invite you to weigh in as well about your experience, if you are comfortable doing that, in terms of the programs that you pursued. Perhaps the students here might like to hear about your own experiences with the programs at UTM.
Yeah, in my unique experience, I'm currently in my second year, majoring in criminology. I got accepted into that major. And I was looking forward and planning, just like all the students in these scenarios we've presented to you guys have done. And I'm like, oh, maybe I could pursue the criminology specialist because it grants you access to a fourth year course in research. You have to take this mandatory like research proposal course where you could possibly get a paper published. And I'm like, oh, that would be great if I want to apply to master's programs to get in. But of course, I'd have to apply to the specialist at the end of my current second year. And I was looking at it and I have to take a statistics course right now, which I'm a little fearful of. I think it might plummet my grade. So I'm thinking if I'm not able to get, like hypothetically, if I can't get into the specialist because of the statistics course, what are my options? And I am just like the students in this scenario, I was able to look and see that the only way, like there isn't just one way to get into a master's program after, if that's what I wish to pursue. It's not just specialist or you're never going to get in. I was able to see that I could stick with the major I'm in if I'm not able to get into the specialist. And I could pursue other things offered at UTM, like there's research opportunity programs that we offer at UTM where you can, under the supervision of a faculty member, you can participate in like research with them and get experience to add onto your resume and onto applications for grad school. And you don't have to be in that specialist program. It's not the be all end all if your goal is like pursuing a master's degree afterwards. So I was able to see that even if I am not able to score the necessary grades to get into the specialist, since I'm already in the criminology major, as long as I tailor what I do from here on out, like trying to pursue maybe research opportunities, and I have until I graduate to try to get those, I'd still be on track to do my master's degree, and I don't have to worry about like it was mentioned previously, you're not a failure and you haven't like not been able to go onto a path that will get you to where you want to be just because you didn't get into one specific program. There's always different options to get to that end goal, and it takes every student like a different amount of time and a different amount of like changes, switches, and avenues to get to where they want to be.
Lucas, thank you so much for that. It's nice to have like a real life example. So we've
Yeah,
been
no
talking a
worries.
lot about the different pathways to achieve your goals, and we've also been talking a lot about some of the very highly competitive programs and having to meet certain GPA requirements and how challenging that can be sometimes. So in this presentation, we thought we'd provide a little bit of an overview of some of the tools that help you manage your CGPA. And this is a really great time for you all to attend this session. And we really appreciate you taking the time. And hopefully you'll find this helpful, because this is a very good time to learn about these tools if you're not familiar with them already, because we're at the start of the term. A lot of these deadlines that I'm going to be talking about connected with these strategies are towards the end of the term. So you still have time to meet those deadlines if you find that you need to use some of these tools to protect your CGPA. Next slide, Lucas. So what we're going to talk about first is dropping courses before the academic deadline. This is your most straightforward way of protecting your CGPA if you're finding that a course is not going very well. If you drop courses before the academic deadline, it is completely removed from your academic record. You may get some refund depending on the timing, but it's really important to know that with academic drop deadlines, the financial deadlines to drop a course and get a fee refund are usually much earlier. So for F-term courses, for example, I believe the financial deadline to drop a course, an F-term course, fall term course, is early October, whereas the academic drop deadline to drop the course from your academic record is almost a month later, early November. So depending on the timing of when you make this decision to drop the course before the academic deadline, you may or may not receive any of your fees that you paid for the course back. It's also important to note that you may reduce your course load to part-time status by dropping courses before the academic deadline. Very important if you're an international student, you want to keep that in mind. Or also if you're receiving OSAP or student financial aid funding from another province. There's no credit limit to dropping courses before the academic deadline. So you can do that as many times as you want, but you also have to bear in mind those other possible ramifications to student financial aid assistance or dropping to part-time for international students, which could have ramifications. There's a link here to the course enrollment page for more information. At the end of the session, we'll share a PDF version of this presentation so that you can access these embedded links. And you manage this process on Acorn. So if you decide I'm going to drop this course before the academic deadline, it is just a straightforward process where you drop the course directly on Acorn. Next slide, Lucas. Thank you. The next strategy we're going to talk about is late withdrawal after the drop date. And I'm just going to go over the key points very quickly, because there's actually a video that we'll try and play for you that really provides an excellent overview of the options and the process associated with late withdrawing after the drop date, LWD for short. So if you choose to LWD a course, you can do this for 3.0 credits maximum over the lifetime of your undergraduate degree studies. When you late withdraw after the drop date, it does not impact your CGPA. Instead of a final grade, you'll just get an LWD notation on your student record instead of a final grade for that course. There's no refund. You don't get any fees back from the course, the fees that you paid for the course, because it's long after the financial refund dates for the course. It does not reduce the number of credits taken that you've taken per the session. So that's helpful if you're an international student. It may be seen as a red flag by some graduate or professional schools. And again, there's some links there for more information on the late withdrawal after the drop date process. And you do this process online, not through Acorn, online. And there's a link there to the late withdrawal after the drop date option online. And Lucas, maybe we could try and play the video, just hopefully it works for everybody. Well, that's funny. I'm not hearing the audio, so maybe we'll have to. Is it anybody hearing the audio?
No, I'm not either.
Okay. You know what? When we share the PDF, you'll have access to the video, everyone. So hopefully it will be able to work. I know when we played it prior to the presentation, it worked. So hopefully you'll be able to access it. If not, it's also available directly online on our Office of the Registrar website, along with some YouTube videos for some of the other options that I'm going to be discussing, second attempt for credit and the credit, no credit option. So we'll move on to the next slide, Lucas. Thank you. So credit, no credit, it's also another option available to you to help protect your CGPA. You can do this option, you can request opt-in to credit, no credit for a course for up to 2.0 credits over the lifetime of your undergraduate degree studies. It doesn't impact your CGPA if you opt into credit, no credit. Instead of a final grade for the course, you'll either get a CR notation if you pass the course or an NCR notation if you do not pass the course. So again, no final grade, no impact to your CGPA. Credit, no credit also does not reduce the number of credits taken per session, so your course load. This also may be seen as a red flag by some graduate or professional schools. And you also manage this process on Acorn. The one thing I will say about credit, no credit is that you should not really consider credit, no credit for a course if the course is required for your program. Generally, credit, no credit, using that should be only for courses that are required to meet your distribution requirements or elective courses. So if it's a course required for program, you have to be very careful if you consider credit, no credit. It's not generally an option. Next slide, Lucas. Thank you. And this is the second attempt for credit policy, which is also an option to help boost your CGPA. If you've taken a course, first attempted a course, you've passed the course, but you haven't achieved a grade. You want to try and get a better grade in the course, either for program admission purposes or just simply to boost your CGPA for program admission or to boost your CGPA for future grad school or professional school applications. On the Office of the Registrar website, we have more information on second attempt for credit. We also have a video about second attempt for credit. And you have to be approved to repeat a course that you previously passed. And you use the course enrollments exception form. The important thing to note about second attempt for credit is it's a two-step process. A lot of times students will forget the second step. The first step is to submit the course enrollment exception form, which allows you to be enrolled in the course if there's space in the course, or be added to the wait list for the course if there's a wait list. The second step is to actually formally request second attempt for credit by the deadline. And that's very important because when you initially are enrolled in the course using the course enrollment exception form, the course will be marked as extra on your student record. So that second attempt will be marked as extra because you've already taken the course and passed it. So it's marked as extra, which an extra course doesn't have any impact on your CGPA or your 20 credits for degree. So the whole focus of second attempt for credit policy is you want to move that extra designation from your second attempt to your first attempt at the course. And you do that by formally requesting second attempt for credit. You request second attempt for credit online. And it's a fairly straightforward process. The only thing I will say is you want to, if your second attempt for credit, if you're repeating a course, you want to carefully monitor your grades in the course when you do the second attempt, because you can only repeat a course that you previously passed one time. And again, it's limited to 1.0 repeated credit. So you can only use the second attempt for credit process for either a full credit course or 2 half credit courses. And it's really important to strategically use second attempt for credit because of that reason. Next step, next slide. Thank you. And Claire, I'm just going to defer to you because I believe it's your slides to present.
Excellent. Thanks, Melanie. So the next few slides, maybe 7, 8 slides, is about the Career Center. And so I want to formally introduce the Career Center. We're in Davis on the second floor, and we're in a very new space, very lovely space. And it is just off down the corridor from Timmy's. So if you're going through Canef, you can walk straight through. On the left, we have an open area where we invite students to look at information, to review information, review resources on programs and careers. And on the right side, the last door on the right, you can, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., we invite you to walk in and ask questions, make an appointment to see a career counselor. There are 5 of us at the moment. There are two counselors are supposed to be joining, but there's Dan and Jamie and Carolina, Lucy, and myself. Lucy and Carolina do double duty in the International Education Center. So in the event that you'd like to speak to a counselor in the center, there's Lucy and Carolina. I just want to say that I find that what we find is that students show up the semester before graduation in a tizzy and wanting to know, well, what can I do with this degree? And I'll get to that later. So I'm going to urge you to think about, it doesn't matter if you haven't decided on a post, come in and talk to one of us, because maybe that way we can help you to kind of look at resources, think about some things that you need to think about, in particular, what goals you have and what you need to consider as you begin to plan, make plans for those goals. So before I go there, let me just say something to Lucas. Lucas, when I was applying to grad school, and this is many, many, many years ago, I took stats in undergrad and I didn't get the grade. I needed an A and I didn't get it. And so what I did was I graduated and then I got a tutor and I took it again and then I applied to grad school. So I'm thinking maybe if instead of, could you think about a tutor maybe so that you don't mess up your GPA, and maybe a tutor can help you too, because if you're like me, statistics was just brutal as far as I was concerned, and I was so glad to get it over with. So maybe a tutor can help if you consider that as you think about, you know, what you want to do. All right, so the service is here for you to use, and I urge you to use it. As you begin to think about programs and posts and goals and so on, we want you to think about yourself in relation to the world of work. And so when you're thinking about yourself, we want you to consider your skills. What are you interested in? What holds your interest? Your values. What are some things that are important to you? For example, do you want stability in a career? Do you want to a career that you will continue to learn, continuous knowledge? Do you want to help people? Is it something that you want some competition in your career? What is your personal style in working? For example, when I was interviewing for this job, I wanted to know what was the style of the management style of the director? Because my personal style is I like hands off. I like independence. And so you need to think about things like that and then look at the external part. And in particular, these times, when you look at the labor market, what's happening with the labor market? And I also want you to consider that you're starting now, but you have to think about what's going to happen 4 years from now. And that's very difficult because we don't have a crystal ball, so we have no idea. I mean, students who graduated in 2018, 2019, they had their career upended with COVID. And so I think you need to be able to have that flexibility, maybe as you consider your specialist minors or majors and minors, that maybe you have a diverse a program so that you can pivot at any time. It's work and leisure. You need to look at how much of that is important to you. Do you want to have that built in? So for example, if that's important, you're not going to take a job that you work into the night, or that is, you have to work on weekends, or you have to work evenings shifts and so on. And then educational background. Do you need a master's for your career as you begin to think about it? Do you need to go to a college and do something else, get some practical skills? And then significant authors. What are your parents saying? So we find that sometimes students, parents have a lot of influence on the careers that their children choose. I had a student who said to me once, well, my parents want me to do business, but I want to do fashion. So what I'm going to do, I'll do the business and then I'll pivot to fashion later. So these are things that you need to think about as you begin to make some career goals. Next slide, please. So the question we get a lot is, what can I do with a degree in psychology, let's say? But I want you to understand that when you have a program, it doesn't lead to a particular career. There are many careers that you can access through a degree in psychology, for example. And we also have to think about the minor that we might be taking. If it's a double major, what are the skills that you are getting and acquiring from the other major? And then you have to understand that we're complex. And so you can't just attribute one sort of program to one career. Then the other thing you need to understand is that when you leave university and you start working, that's not where you'll end up when you retire, let's say. Things happen. For example, as I said, COVID, something else may come up. You may get married and have to stay home and then come back. And so be prepared that, you will change your careers a couple of times. Sort of understand what your preferences and your strengths are, understand what your skills are, what you're good at. And it's important to look at the skills in the classroom and also the skills that you're gaining outside of the classroom, because that is also important. I want you to bear in mind that if you graduate with a 4.0 and you don't do anything else, you're going to be behind the 8 ball, simply because the student who comes out with maybe a 3.5, but they've had 4 years of work experience, they've done some research, maybe they've been leadership in a club, they have done some other extracurricular activities, they participated in maybe note-taking, maybe tutoring. These things will count more than the student who count for that student more than the student who has just straight academics. And so think about joining a club and getting some leadership skills, doing some research. I think Angel mentioned the ROP program, and so that's something that you can think about applying to some work study activities. And then attend our workshops, because we have a number of workshops to help you get prepared for summer employment, for applying for research. We've got the Job Shadow program, and we've got a program called In the Field. And that program is, I'm not sure if it's once a month, but we take half a day, and we would take students to the students who sign up to a particular industry for them to talk to people, employers, employees there, and management about what the company is all about and what are the career possibilities and so on. Next slide, please. Transferable skills. And while you are gaining skills from your academic work, there are skills that are important. How you communicate with people. Are you a good writer? Can you speak well? Are you able to problem solve? And not only problem solve, but can you solve complex problems? Critical thinking, very important. How do you sort of manage yourself? Are you flexible? And I can honestly say that flexibility is one of the big skills that we need to have in these times, and adaptability, again, being able to pivot in the event that things don't work out the way you want. Ability to work with people. Are you in tune with what's happening in the room? Can you read the room? Are you able to read people? Can you collaborate? Can you provide leadership? And you get that leadership piece from being active in clubs, and not only as a member, but taking on some activity in the executive, on the executive committee, if you can. Next slide, please. And so one of the things that we encourage students to do is to come and talk to a career counselor. You don't necessarily have to talk about program choice or career choice, but you're just talking about maybe figuring out, okay, so here is where I am, and maybe what do I need to get to point A, point B, what's happening in terms of workshops that I should be attending to really keep abreast of things. On the Career Center website, I'm going to put it in the chat a bit later. We have career cruising. It's an assessment that will help you to kind of narrow some options in terms of careers. They explore, I think, over 400 careers through a particular network. And we have a live chat that's open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so if you're looking for something and can't find it, please don't get frustrated and walk away. Just jump on the live chat and ask, and somebody will sort of answer that question or point you in the right direction. Next slide, please. So this is an important one. A lot of students come in, to university, and they're certain of what they wanted to do. An example, I'll give you a personal example. I wanted to be a social worker. And back in the day, you didn't have job shadows and job shadowing and all this other stuff. So I thought, well, that's what I want to be. I want to help people solve problems and so on. And my first go round in the field, I was at the welfare office, and I was doing some job shadowing, and I made a comment. And after the client left, I was called in and told that that's not a career for me because I didn't have the patience and to kind of be a social worker. But I was certain that I wanted to be a social. When I left that meeting and went back to campus, I had the clarity of what that career was about. So you can be certain about something, but you need to be clear in terms of what it entails, what is required to be successful in that and be helpful in that career. And so I pivoted to education, and I've been in education ever since. Again, I had to take a look at my strengths, my values, what was my weakness, and so what are the areas that I could be interested in that would I also be in helping people, and then I would encourage students to look at the reasons for considering the program that you want or the career that you want to, and how do those reasons connect with who you are, and could you find a similar career that would also fulfill those reasons. All right, next slide, please. And so self-exploration and research. We've got, there are a couple of things that you need to really graduate. And I think that most of us today, Angel and Melanie, we've talked about this in different forms, but you need to have some research if you can. There's the ROP, and if you can't do the ROP, there's the independent research study that you can do, but you still have to work with a professor. The Career Center can help you to get your resume ready and a cover letter if you are applying for an ROP. And I think that students in second year and beyond can access that. Take the opportunity to really explore for exploration and find out who you are and sort of what are your strengths and so on, as we talked about. And then look at getting work experience. And there are many opportunities. I would encourage you, if you can, if you don't have to, don't do summer school. And if you have to, then maybe you can switch up, maybe do sort of the first half and then the second half, get some experience, because experience is really important, because you're developing skills and you're understanding, getting some clarity about where you want to be and understanding about the world of work. There's the co-curricular activities, and that is if you attend 3 sessions put on by the Career Center, then you can add that to your co-curricular record. And the co-curricular record acts as like a resume. So when you are done your 4 years, you can go back to that record and you could look at all the activities that you participated in and all the skills that you have developed, and then you can transfer that into your resume. Or if you are going to grad school, they require you to write a personal statement. And so that is a great help in terms of putting your statement together, because a lot of times, you know, in year 2, you may have done something, and by year 4, you forgot what it was, but it will be in your co-curricular record. And so to recap, you need to get out of the classroom at some point and get into the university community, or even the community at large, and find out and inquire and develop skills and explore. And the other thing I really want to stress, you need to attend office hours. If you have any hope of getting a decent recommendation from a professor who will write something that is beyond generic, but really write an in-depth reference for you. Attend office hours, and don't only attend office hours, but you need to ask questions, show interest, do some reading on beyond what is necessary. And if the prof has done some publications, then you need to read up on it and sort of ask those questions. Next slide, please. The other thing, yesterday, actually, I need to say this, we had a career fair, a graduate school fair, sorry, and a lot of schools were there offering post-grad diploma certification. And that's something that I would suggest that you also need to think about if you really don't want to go to grad school. But consider, and when you consider that, look at the goals and the interests, and then, sort of, is it financially viable for you? And really, do you have the energy after 4 years to go on to look at other options? There you can get certification, and there's some certifications that are available if you are, for example, I think if you want to go into HR, then you take some courses. I think Sheridan has an HR program, and then you get the HR certification. Marketing is another one that you may want to look at beyond the degree, as opposed to doing an MBA in marketing. Then maybe you want to go on to get a postgrad diploma in from a college. Michener Institute, by the way, offers postgrad for those of people who are thinking about health science. They offer postgrad diplomas, but in specific programs that are functional. For example, they offer something in chiropody, and they offer in what is that one that you do? X-ray technician, I think. But look up those institutions. Michener collaborates with U of T on some of they have degree programs too, and they collaborate with U of T on some of their programs. Next slide, please. So when you attend, we have a number of networking events, and then also some departments. I know the business area, they have a lot of networking events. But when you go to a networking event, my suggestion is not to look at the person while you see this successful person and they're really talking about their job and their career and what they're doing and so on. You need to ask questions about how did they deal with failure? How did they pivot? You need to ask questions about what it took to get to where they are. How did they deal with disappointments, or did they have disappointments? And, sort of what sacrifices they had to make. Because a lot of times we only see the success, but we don't understand that there were many failures. And one more thing I need to suggest, while you're at it, as you begin to think about careers, use your LinkedIn page to network. You're not asking people for employment. What you're doing is you're saying, I'm thinking about a career in this, and I noticed that you have, you've done the same thing. And what do you think I need to do to be successful? Those are the kinds of questions you need to ask. All right, I think, next slide, please. And so basically, sometimes we find that students can't make a decision. And so we ask, what's holding you back? And there could be a number of things that that you want to consider. I mean, could be finances, could be health, could be not managing your time. And so whatever it is, book a one-on-one appointment and we can, discuss it and see how best we can help you. Next slide. So let's meet with a career counselor and look at next steps after graduation and how to prepare you for that, and whatever obstacles you have that was mentioned in the previous slide. Let's see how we can help you to get over those challenges. We are here from appointments begin at 10 and end at 4, and we are back to working 5 days a week. And then we have you can have a virtual appointment also, and in person. I
Thanks,
think
Claire.
that's me. You're welcome.
Lucas, can we just go back? I'm just going to do the overview of the academic, just to summarize for everybody. So you can meet with an academic advisor to discuss your academic strengths, your areas of interest, understanding program entry requirements. We can also help with that. We can review the entry requirements in the calendar together, cross-reference it with what your student record indicates that you've done to date, and see, do some of that work that we talked about, Angel and I talked about in the scenarios, helping you take a look at the CGPA calculator, understanding, how far it would be for you to have this current CGPA and to attain the CGPA that you need for the programs that you're interested in. So that type of thing we're happy to help with. We also have, as I believe Angel alluded to, Lucas, who is one of our peer leaders, who is delivering the resource navigation sessions. And they can also take you through some of the tools that will help you with understanding and managing your CGPA, estimating grades, all the tools that you need to be academically successful. So use that CGPA calculator. Understanding the academic calendar, we're here to help you. We have in-person and virtual advising appointments available. We are quite busy at start of term, as are all the services on campus, but we are here to help, and we will try and reach out if you as quickly as we can if you reach out to us. Next slide, Lucas. Thank you. So this is just an overview. I think Claire mentioned the services on the Career Center website. Claire, is there anything you want to highlight? I think you mentioned the live chat, which is great, that's on your website. And then the Office of the Registrar, there's links there. And again, I will share the PDF of this presentation in the chat at the end. We have these webinars. You're always welcome. The webinar page where you registered to attend this session also will have some of our other upcoming fall webinars. You're more than welcome to attend any session that you see on those that webinar page. Ask Registrar, it's open 24/7. You can always submit a ticket to our academic advising team. We always try and see if we can answer your question in the ticket response first of all. If we do feel that the inquiry needs a full appointment, we'll set one for you, but we're here to help. And there's a phone service as well for our student success representatives. So by all means, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions.
Can I
Next slide.
just, can you
sure
go back
thing.
for a sec?
Yeah, sure thing, Claire.
Sorry. Career Center website, we've got a lot of information. When you go into the website, you look at the top right-hand corner for the menu, and then you go A to Z, and anything you want, you can find it there. The CLN, we list all the workshops on CLN. We also have job ads that we employers advertise jobs on CLN. I think right now we've got like 350 jobs advertised. Maybe some of them may have been taken down because they have expired. But also we list our workshops and we list our events on CLN. And if you want to make an appointment for a resume critique, then you can make it yourself. You go into, there's a tab that says book a Career Center appointment, and you go into that site, upload your CV, and sort of with under the name of the person that you want to review your document. And then on the Career Center website, also you can access assessments. If you want to do an assessment, you can access a page to build your skills and understand what your skills are actually, or find out what your skills are. And then there's live chat. Next slide. So next Wednesday, we have a career fair. And I would suggest don't wait until January because we're having another one in January, to come to look for a job in the summer. Most employers, in particular the banks, and I think Scotiabank will be here, they hire way out for like they hired this year for next year, or maybe they've hired last year again for this year. But I would suggest that you, sorry, they hired last year for next year. But I would suggest that you attend. And if you want to know who's coming, look on our website. We've got a list of organizations that will be attending. And I think that's updated every day, so you can sort of keep checking. And come to network, ask questions about the roles of positions, ask questions about how people got into that company, how did they start their career, and people are quite happy to answer questions. We help students with job interviews. If you have an interview and you'd like to have sort of a run through, a practice interview, so we help students with that. And there are workshops on helping you to create a very strong LinkedIn page, because your LinkedIn is used now for everything, applying for jobs and networking. And so I would suggest that maybe once a week, you go into CLN, see what's happening, and attend the activity of your interest. Next slide, please. And thank you for joining.
Thanks so much, everybody, for your time. At this point, I'm going to put the PDF of the presentation in the chat just so that you have it, especially in case some of you need to leave for class or anything. But it will also be here for a few minutes just to take any questions, if you have any questions for us today. And I'm just going to put that PDF in the chat now. It might take a minute to load. So yes, please feel free to leave any questions in the chat or in the, pardon me, in the Q&A.
I see Daniel actually left a question. I think Daniel might actually be the only student that we have left at the end of today's presentation.
Okay.
So Daniel asked, and I think this is more of a Office of the Registrar question. From what I see on UTM's refund schedule, it says the deadline for 100% refund on courses minus minimum fees is September 3rd to September 16th. What is the process of unenrolling completely from UTM? Is it just by unenrolling from all my courses on Acorn? So I can start. Melanie, if you have anything to add, please go ahead. So Daniel, what I want to just start by saying is I'm really sorry to hear that you're thinking of unenrolling completely from UTM. So please feel free to submit a ticket on Ask Registrar to speak with either myself, Melanie, or one of our other academic advising colleagues, just to talk about this decision and really what's going on. Of course, though, it's completely your decision if you'd like to unenroll. So just some general information. If you have academic history on your UFT transcript and you decide to drop all of your courses and take maybe a break, maybe for now it might seem like you completely would like to withdraw, but it could potentially be a break. Consider that if you have at least one final grade on your transcript or an LWD notation, credit, no credit notation, for an example, you can return to your studies at UTM. we don't have like a time cap on that. You could come back after a year, you can come back after 2 years. We even have students sometimes who they decided to withdraw from their studies. As Claire mentioned, sometimes life happens, maybe you need to take a break. And then we have students sometimes coming back after even like 10, 15, 20 years. So that is an option if right now university isn't working out for you for whatever reason. However, if you have no academic history on your record and you drop all of your courses, then you'll definitely have to reapply for admission. So please consider that when making this decision. But you're right, if you do not wish to proceed with the fall winter session, you can drop your courses on Acorn. Being mindful of those refund deadlines, if you would like to have some or all of those course fees reversed from your invoice. And if you're an international student, I recommend speaking with the International Education Center about how withdrawing will impact immigration and your study permit. If you're an OSAP recipient, make sure you speak with financial aid advising about how withdrawing completely could impact that OSAP application you've submitted, or maybe that out of province student application you've submitted for financial aid if you're not receiving financial aid from Ontario. In addition to that, if you have a scholarship here at UTM, also think about how withdrawing could impact those conditions. So think of all of the caveats to the decision you're making. But once you've done all of that, you're right. All you have to do is drop the courses on Acorn. And to return after an absence of 12 months or longer, again, if you have academic history on your record and then you'd like to pick up where you left off, you'd have to submit a form. It's called the Reactivation of Student Record form. There's a non-refundable fee for the form. Right now it's $26.50. Of course, that could change depending on the time you wish to come back. Melanie, do you have anything else to add to that?
Angel, no, that was perfect. You covered all the scenarios. I put the link to the International Education Center in the chat. If Daniel, if you're an international student, and also the refund schedule. I think it sounds like you've already reviewed that, Daniel. But yes, just know that was a perfect answer, Angel.
Thank you. And I'd also like to mention too, Daniel, so to be quite transparent, the academic advising team, we've received truly an unprecedented amount of appointment requests. So we are doing our absolute best to get back to everyone in a timely manner. But if you submit a ticket to speak with us, let's say today, prior to the 16th, probably you will not get an appointment with us within that time frame. We also don't have service hours over the weekend. So I recommend thinking about if this is a decision that you'd like to make and meeting that September 16th deadline if you are thinking of receiving 100% of the course fees reversed from your invoice. But if you would like to talk to us beforehand, before making the decision, there will be that financial piece that you have to think about because we'll be beyond the 100% refund deadline if you choose to wait to speak with us by appointment. Okay. All right, so it's 11:30. If there aren't any other questions, thank you, Daniel, for acknowledging our answer. We will close out today's session. Again, thank you to you, Daniel, for staying till the end. And thank you, Melanie, Lucas, Claire, for all of your information, your insights. Claire, I feel like I learned even more. Like I'm somewhat new in my career as well, but I feel like even I have learned so much more about how I can move forward in my career. So I really appreciate attending
Wow.
the session
I
too.
appreciate this. I
Yeah,
didn't think I was,
truly.
yeah.
You
yeah.
really helped. I feel like this is so like enlightening, to be honest. So thank you guys again. I know our student left, and I hope you all have a great day. Moving
Okay.
forward.
I am moving into another workshop.
Oh, there.
fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Claire. I learned something too. The Michener, I didn't know about that. I'm going to take a look at it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of post-grad
yeah,
dip
fantastic.
courses. Yeah.
I always learn
Yeah.
something from Claire. Thanks so
I know,
much.
truly. Every time.
Have a
All
good
right.
day.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Lucas. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.